The wind howled like a wild beast outside the lonely outpost. Snow slammed against the glass like tiny fists, and the white world beyond had no end, no shape, just cold silence. Inside his dome-shaped shelter, Eli Ward sat near a heater, sipping hot broth and reading old digital logs. Life on the edges of Earth's last colony wasn't easy, but he liked the quiet, didn't need people. Machines listened better. They didn't lie or leave. He'd lived like this for 4 years, repairing drones, sending mineral data back to Earth, and surviving one snowstorm at a time. The blizzard outside was the worst of the season. No one in their right mind would be out in this. That's why Eli nearly dropped his cup when his outer motion sensors began to beep. "Movement," whispered, frowning. He tapped the console. The camera feed showed 2 blurry shapes stumbling through the snow toward his hatch. At first, he thought they were wolves or maybe malfunctioning robots. But then he saw the way one figure fell and the other dropped to their knees beside her. They weren't machines. They were people. Or not exactly people. Eli's chest tightened. Against the swirling snow, he saw the shimmer of pale violet skin, long white hair blowing in the wind, and eyes that glowed faintly blue. Aliens. 2 of them. One looked older, the other younger. They were barely dressed for this storm thin. Robes, no boots, no helmets. Without thinking, Eli grabbed his coat and ran to the hatch. "Protocol says don't open," he muttered to himself. Could be dangerous, but something deeper pushed him forward. Not fear, not curiosity. Something warmer, a memory. Maybe his little sister crying in a storm long ago, before the colony, before the war. He opened the outer door. The older alien looked up at him. Her lips trembled, but she didn't speak. She clutched the younger one tightly, who was barely breathing. Eli stepped out, pulled them both inside, and slammed the hatch shut. The cold chased them like a ghost, but the warmth of the heater quickly fought it off. He laid the younger sister on a cot and covered her with 2 blankets. Her skin was ice cold. "It's okay," he whispered. "You're safe now." The older sister's eyes flicked up to him. Her voice was quiet, hoarse. "Thank you. I'm Eli," he said softly. "You're lucky I was still awake." She hesitated. "I am Siva. This is my sister Lunai. We escaped." "Escaped?" he asked, raising an eyebrow. She didn't answer. Instead, she focused on her sister, brushing back her white hair. Luni's breathing was shallow, her hands curled tight. Eli grabbed his med kit and scanned her vitals. "She's got hypothermia. We need to warm her up slowly." He worked in silence, wrapping warm packs around her limbs, adding steam to the air, and offering Siva some broth. She refused at first, then accepted with shaking hands. "You didn't have to help us," she said after a long moment. "Others, they wouldn't have." Eli gave a tired smile. "Well, I'm not others." Siva looked at him, truly looked. Her glowing eyes softened. "You're kind. That's dangerous." He tilted his head. "Why?" She looked toward the locked hatch. "Because they'll come for us, and they won't be kind." Eli didn't ask who they were. He could guess. Her voice held fear, but also strength. She was no weak wanderer. She had run from something and it was still chasing her. That night, Eli couldn't sleep. He sat in his chair, watching Lunai slowly recover and Siva sitting like a silent guardian beside her. The storm outside raged on, but inside, something had changed. His world once so quiet, so empty now had voices, breath, life. He didn't know who these sisters truly were, didn't know the danger they carried with them, but he had opened his door, and now nothing would ever be the same. The storm outside lasted 3 more days. Snow built up around the dome until it covered the lower windows completely. Inside, Eli did what he could to make his shelter feel less like a bunker and more like a home. He added extra blankets, warm food, and even lit a few glow sticks around the room to chase away the cold shadows. It wasn't much, but it was the first time in years he had someone to care for, and it felt strange, but good. Lunai slowly got better. Her color returned, and her hand stopped shaking. She still didn't speak much, but her eyes followed Eli around with quiet curiosity. She would smile gently when he handed her soup or checked her temperature. Her presence was soft, like sunlight through clouds. In contrast, Siva remained serious, always alert. She rarely left Looney's side and watched every sound or blinking light in the room with suspicion. On the fourth night, Siva finally opened up. "You deserve the truth," she said, standing near the window, arms crossed. Eli looked up from the console where he was checking the weather reports. "Figured you weren't just lost tourists." Siva didn't smile. "We were supposed to be royalty, daughters of the Varasi regent. We were born into power." "Royalty?" Eli blinked. "Then why are you here, freezing to death on a forgotten planet?" She hesitated. "Because we refused to be part of their war." Eli leaned back, letting the words sink in. He had heard of the Varasi Dominiona, powerful alien empire known for expanding into new systems, taking what they wanted and crushing anyone who resisted. Earth had barely avoided war with them years ago. "They ordered us to lead the next wave of conquest," Siva said quietly. "But we couldn't, Lunai. She sees life differently. She believes in peace, in choices. I followed her." Voice cracked. "They called us traitors. Our own guards turned on us." Eli looked at her, feeling a tightness in his chest. He could see the pain in her eyes, the weight she carried. "You ran," he said softly. "We stole an escape pod." Siva nodded. "It crashed during the storm. We thought we were going to die." Eli looked over at Lunai, who had fallen asleep again, her face calm now, free of fear. "You almost did." Siva turned toward him. "And now, because you helped us, you're in danger too." He shrugged. "I've lived alone for years." Dangers. Not new, but Siva stepped closer. "This is different. They will track us. They'll scan for signs. If they know we're alive, they'll come in. They'll hurt anyone who helped us." Eli felt the chill again, not from the snow, but from her words. He had known something was coming, but now it was real. He stood up. "Let them come." Siva blinked. "What? 8? You didn't ask to be born into power? You didn't ask for war. But you chose to do the right thing. That's more than I can say for most people." "But Eli, no," he said firmly, meeting her eyes. "You're not alone anymore. Not while you're under my roof." Siva's expression shifted. Her strong mask cracked just a little. She looked at him like she didn't know whether to argue or cry. In the end, she said nothing. Her eyes said everything. Later that night, while Eli was adjusting the heat systems, a quiet voice spoke behind him. "Thank you, Lunai," whispered. He turned and smiled. "Feeling better?" She nodded. "Because of you." He didn't know what to say, but her soft, glowing eyes held a warmth that made the cold outside feel a little less sharp. That evening, Eli rechecked the perimeter sensors. He saw a faint signal on the edge of the snowfield, something mechanical, just out of range, not strong enough to confirm, but enough to worry him. Someone was looking, and the quiet days were coming to an end. The sun peeked out for the first time in days, casting a soft golden glow over the snowy hills. Eli stepped outside briefly in his insulated suit, brushing thick ice off the solar panels and checking the dome's external systems. The silence was almost peaceful, but in the back of his mind, unease settled like frost. Inside, the alien sisters were recovering well. Lunai had begun to walk slowly around the dome, always curious, gently touching the tools and gadgets Eli had built. She often smiled at simple things, a moving drone, the flicker of the heater, even the taste of chocolate. Her joy was light and pure. Siva, however, remained tense. She would wake up early, check every window, and ask Eli about sensor logs. Her warrior instincts never slept. She was thankful, yes, but never relaxed. One morning, Eli sat at his terminal, sipping bitter coffee. When the red alert pinged, he stiffened. Unknown ship approaching. Small, low altitude. Not Earth registered. He pressed a few buttons, enhancing the feed, Sleek silver scout vessel hovered just above the tree line, slowing down as it neared the outpost. Its markings were faint but clear enough. Viewership. Eli stood quickly and called Siva over. She looked once, and her jaw tightened. "They've found us," she said quietly. "Can you be sure it's not just a passing ship?" Eli asked, already knowing the answer. "They don't pass by," she replied. "They search. Always." Stood behind them, her expression filled with worry. "What will they do?" "They'll pretend to be peaceful at first," Siva said. "Ask questions. Smile. Then scan the area. Once they find us, they'll take us and kill anyone who helped." Eli's hands tightened into fists. He had never fought soldiers, never faced an alien empire. But now, two lives in, maybe his. On depended on his next choice. "Hide," he said, turning to Siva. "Both of you now." They moved quickly. Eli had an old mining compartment hidden beneath the floor of his workshop, originally built to store unstable chemicals. It was cramped, but shielded from scans. He filled it with blankets, water, and a small cum. The sisters slipped inside, and he sealed the hatch with a magnetic lock. Moments later, the outer sensor lit up. A group of 3 Varasi scouts stepped from the ship. They wore sleek armor and fake smiles, holding scanning tools and holopads. One of them, clearly the leader, knocked on Eli's hatch. Eli opened it halfway. Standing tall, pretending to be annoyed. "Can I help you?" he asked, keeping his voice calm. "Good day, human," the lead scout said smoothly. "We are on a survey mission, routine scans." "This is private land," Eli replied. "Registered colony engineer?" "You're trespassing." Scout tilted. His head, "We only need a few minutes. We're looking for missing cargo." Eli didn't flinch. "No cargo here. Just snow, rocks, and my peace and quiet." They pushed past him anyway. For the next 15 minutes, the scouts moved through the dome, pretending to examine power lines and panels. But Eli saw it in their eyes. They were hunting. The leader ran a scanner near the workshop door, but the device beeped strangely. Confused by the dense shielding Eli had installed, he pretended not to notice their tension and offered no clues. Eventually, the leader smiled politely. "Thank you for your time." Eli opened the hatch wide. "Next time, call ahead." Once they were gone, Eli didn't move. He stood in silence, heart pounding. When the ship finally disappeared into the sky, he opened the workshop hatch. The sisters climbed out. Lunai was shaking. Svo's hands were balled into fists. "They know," she whispered. "They'll come back with more." Eli looked at them both, his voice steady. "Then we get ready." Outside, the snow began to fall again, but this time, it wasn't a storm that worried them. It was war. The calm didn't last long. 2 days after the scout ship left, the skies above the outpost began to change. Clouds moved unnaturally fast, and the wind carried a low, humming sound that made Eli's chest feel heavy. Even the birds rare in. These snowy parts disappeared. Nature itself seemed to go silent. Eli stood at the edge of the snowfield, staring up at the sky. In the distance, dark shapes moved through the clouds. Sleek metal, glowing engines. Not one ship this time. Dropship large and armed. A warship, small by Varasi standards. Far too big for a peaceful visit. Inside the dome, Svea and Lunai were already preparing. "They're not here to ask questions this time," Svea said, as she tightened the straps of her old energy blade. Her expression was calm, but her hands moved quickly, focused, trained. "They'll land, scan, and attack. They'll burn everything to find us." Eli didn't speak for a moment. He was standing near his workbench, surrounded by parts and scrap from old drones. Mining tools and defense gear. He looked up. "Then let's make sure they regret landing." For hours they worked together. Eli showed Siva how to reprogram the mining drones into mobile traps. They buried sonic mines under the snow and strung high-voltage wires across narrow passes. Lunai, sitting at Eli's terminal, tapped into the nearby satellite relays and set up jammers to block enemy communication. Her fingers danced over the keyboard with surprising skill. "You've done this before?" Eli said, watching her. Lunai gave him a small smile. We weren't always just running. When the first alarm went off, it was already dusk. The sky lit up in orange as the Varasi dropship descended like a predator. Snow blew in every direction, and 3 sleek transports hit the ground nearby. Sending squads of armored soldiers across the frozen field, Eli stood on the ridge near his dome. Watching through binoculars, he counted 15 soldiers more than expected. They're not wasting time, Siva said beside him. They're here to finish this. Eli nodded. Good, so are we. As the first squad neared the dome, a buried drone whirred to life and launched an electrical pulse. The air exploded in blue light. 2 soldiers dropped, stunned. The others scattered, but another mine triggered near the back, sending up a wall of steam and confusion. Eli fired a small EMP launcher from a hidden point. Another soldier's suit sparked and locked up. Siva moved with lightning speed, her energy blades slicing through snow and armor when they got too close. She didn't enjoy the fight, but she didn't hold back. She was trained, and it showed. From inside the dome, Lunai shouted into the cum. They've called for backup. They're trying to jam my signal? Eli rushed back and helped her reroute power to the outer relay. We need Earth Command to hear us, he said. Can't win this alone. Just then, a loud crash shook the building. The main hatch blasted open. 2 Varasi soldiers entered, guns raised. Eli turned to shield Lunai. But before he could move, Siva burst through the smoke. Her blade flashed once, twice, and the soldiers dropped. Eli stared. Remind me not to get on your bad side. Siva didn't smile, but her eyes softened. Outside, the battle slowed. The remaining soldiers began retreating, confused by the traps, the tech, and the fierce defense. They hadn't expected resistance from 1 human and 2 refugees. As the dropship pulled back, Lunai looked out the window. They're leaving. But they'll come back with more. Eli stepped beside her, breathing hard. Then we keep fighting. Looked at the damaged hatch, the sparks flying, the snow turning dark from scorched earth. This was my quiet life, he whispered, and I gave it up the moment I opened that door. Lunai turned to him, her voice soft but sure, and we'll never forget it. Outside, fire still burned in the sky, but inside they stood together, ready for whatever came next. The battle was over, but the fear hadn't gone. The snow outside Eli's dome was no longer clean white. It was burned, broken, filled with black marks from fire and shattered metal. The sky above was quiet, but the silence felt like a warning. Everyone inside the dome knew this wasn't the end. It was only the beginning. Inside, Eli worked quietly, fixing the damage to the hatch. His hands were scraped and tired, but he didn't stop. Lunai sat nearby, watching him with gentle eyes. She looked stronger now, more confident, but still full of warmth. She didn't speak much. That Donley helped when he asked. Siva stood guard, her back straight, her blade never far from reach. She didn't trust the silence outside. Never would again. More will come, she said. And next time, it won't be a scout team or a small drop force. It will be a fleet. Eli tightened a bolt, and we can't face it alone. Siva raised an eyebrow. What do you mean? I mean we send a signal, not just to Earth. Command, Eli said, standing up, but to every outpost, every human station, every alien who's ever escaped their control. Lunai nodded slowly. You want to start a resistance? Eli looked at both of them. You already did. Just helping make it louder. With Lunai's skills and tech, they created a message and sent it through secure channels. Eli's words were simple and clear. We fought them. We're alive, and we won't run. If you believe in freedom, stand with us. The message spread fast. First came a reply from a nearby Earth research base, then from a smuggler group that had once hidden alien escapees, then a whisper from another species, the Norellan, enemies of the Varasi, who had been crushed years ago and wanted a second chance. Over the next week, people began arriving. Not an army, just a few at first. A human scout pilot with a fast ship. An alien mechanic with bright green eyes and knowledge of Dominion systems. A rebel Varasi medic, quiet and scarred but brave. They all came for one reason, hope. For the First time in years, Eli's dome was full of voices and footsteps. The once quiet halls were now filled with laughter, planning, and purpose. Siva still kept her guard up. But something inside her had changed. She trained the newcomers, gave orders, helped build defense walls. But when she looked at Eli now, her eyes softened more than before. One evening, as the stars lit up the sky, Siva sat beside Eli on a snow-covered ledge outside the dome. They both looked out at the endless night. "You didn't have to help us," she said quietly. "I didn't," Eli replied, "but I wanted to." Siva was silent for a moment. "And now they listen to you. They follow you." Eli gave a small smile. "They follow you. I just opened a door." Siva looked at him. I looked. Her usual armor of words and silence cracked just a little. "You gave us more than shelter," she said. "You gave us something we didn't think we'd ever have again." Eli's voice was low. "What's that? A reason to believe?" Inside the dome, Lunai watched from the window, her hand pressed gently to the glass. She smiled not with jealousy, but with understanding. They were all connected now, bound by the choices they made, by the fight they shared. The Varasi thought Earth was weak, that humans would hide or surrender, but they had forgotten something. Humans didn't just survive, they resisted, and now they were not alone. The days of peace were over. The alliance had grown stronger, but so had the threat. From the edge of the galaxy, a message arrived, one that made the air feel colder, even inside the heated dome. A Varasi fleet was moving. Not a patrol. A scout team. A real fleet, fully armed, fully ready to crush the rebellion before it could rise. Their first target was Earth's nearby colony stations. Eli stood in the middle of the planning room, staring at the star map, glowing in front of him. Red dots marked the enemy's path. Blue ones were the colonies. Too close. Too fast. "We don't have time," Siva said, voice sharp. "Their flagship will be in range within days. Once it arrives, nothing we have here will stop it." The others in the room were silent. Fear filled the air. But Eli's eyes stayed focused. "There's one thing we haven't used yet." Lunai turned toward him. "You mean the old weapon?" Eli nodded. "Project Aegis." Long ago, during Earth's darkest war, humans had built a powerful orbital defense, Platform Aegis. It was hidden, forgotten, buried in orbit behind the moon. Too dangerous, too unstable. But Eli had found traces of it while scanning old military logs. It still existed. It might still work. "But Aegis is broken," said the human pilot. "Its power core failed decades ago. I can fix it," Eli said. "With help. But we'll need to get up there before the Dominion does." The team moved fast. Within hours, they launched an old ship retrofitted with Varasi tech. Eli, Siva, Lunai, and a small crew flew into orbit, passing through the planet's dark side, where the ancient satellite floated like a sleeping giant. Inside Aegis, dust covered everything. Systems flickered. Walls hummed with forgotten energy. Eli worked nonstop, rerouting wires, repairing circuits, and rerunning ancient commands. Sweat dripped from his forehead. Time was running out outside. The Varasi fleet entered the system. Lunai watched from the control window. Her voice trembled. "They're almost in firing range of the colonies." "We need 5 more minutes," Eli said, tightening a power node. A loud boom echoed through the station. A small Varasi strike team had boarded. Hell, somehow they had tracked them. The battle began in the long halls of the station, laser fire against steel. Screams in the distance. Siva fought at the front, her energy blade glowing bright. She moved. Like a storm, faster than fear, sharper than any soldier.
Ace.
But even she was bleeding now, tired, breathing hard. Eli finished the last connection. "It's ready." But then the lights blinked red. The core was unstable. To fire Aegis, someone had to stay behind and control the manual override. The station couldn't do it remotely. It was too old. "I'll do it," Eli said. "No," Siva said quickly, stepping forward. "Let me. You're too important now." The others. I built this. I finish it. He turned toward Lunai, who had tears in her eyes. She shook her head. There must be another way. But Eli smiled. It's okay. This is worth it. He pressed the command. A massive beam of light shot from the Aegis core, cutting across space. It hit the Dominion's flagship with full force. The explosion lit up the sky, silent, powerful, final. The enemy fleet scattered in panic. Earth was safe. The rebellion had won its first real battle. Inside Aegis, fire spread. Eli ran toward the escape pod but collapsed halfway. Smoke, heat, metal breaking. Then strong arms grabbed him. She had come back. She pulled him into the pod, slammed the door, and launched. The last thing Eli saw was the stars above, clearer than ever. When they landed, people cheered. Siva hugged Eli tightly. Lunai ran to him with tears and laughter. He was alive. They were together. The war wasn't over, but in that moment, they had won something bigger. Hope. The warships were gone, and the sky was finally quiet. Weeks had passed since the Aegis station fired its ancient weapon and drove back the Varasi fleet. The explosion had been seen from the colony stations like a new sun, bright and powerful. People across the system called it a symbol of hope. They whispered Eli's name with respect. Many didn't know all the details, but they knew one thing: a human, a rebel princess. And her sister had stood against an empire and survived. Now, peace was growing. Slowly but surely, Eli walked through the rebuilt outpost, no longer alone. What once was a silent shelter had become a living, breathing center of life. New domes had been added. Engineers, pilots, medics, and even families now lived nearby. The snow still fell, but laughter filled the air. Drones flew overhead, children played in the ice, and workers laid down solar roads between homes. Siva stood near the training field, helping new recruits learn self-defense. She wore her armor less now, but her strength never faded. Her sharp voice still gave orders, but now it carried pride. It's not fear. Lunai had turned the old cum room into a center for diplomacy. She spoke with rebel groups, guided refugee ships, and helped former enemies become allies. People trusted her. Her voice was soft, but powerful, like a calm river that carved mountains over time. As for Eli, he had become something he never expected: a leader. Not because he asked for it, because he had earned it. But even with everything changing around him, Eli still found time for quiet mornings. He still fixed broken tools, cleaned his hands with snow, and sat with a warm drink watching the white hills roll on forever. One morning, Siva joined him on the ridge. She wore a long coat now, instead of armor, and her face looked softer in the sunlight. "You still sit out here alone?" she said with a smirk. Eli chuckled. "Old habits." She sat beside him, close but comfortable. "The galaxy's changing, I know," he said, "but this place still feels the same." She looked at him. "No, it doesn't." They were quiet for a moment, the wind brushing past gently. "I used to think love was a weakness," Siva said suddenly, "that it made you slow, blind."
Ow.
Eli turned his head slightly, surprised by her words. "But now I see," she continued, voice calm. "It makes you brave. It gives you something worth fighting for." Eli looked at her. "And have you found something?" She met his eyes. "I found someone." He didn't answer with words. He simply reached out, and she took his hand. Down below, Lunai waved at them, smiling warmly. She had always known this would happen. She believed in hearts more than weapons. Later that evening, a ceremony was held near the central dome. People gathered around as the stars shone above. Eli was called forward, and Siva and Lunai stood beside him. Flags from Earth, from former Dominion worlds, and from new free colonies waved together. A new union had begun, not of power, but of peace. Eli stepped up and spoke simply, the same way he always had. "We didn't win because we were strong," he said. "We won because we stood together, because we cared." The crowd clapped, some with tears in their eyes. After the ceremony, as music played and people danced on the snow, Eli looked up at the stars. He thought about the cold night he first opened that hatch. The two freezing sisters. The danger. The choice, he smiled. They had claimed more than just his shelter that night. They had claimed his heart, and now, together, they were helping shape a new world. A world worth living for. A world worth protecting forever.